Hey, it's B. LeGrand with the Edibles List, and we're here with Chris Barnicle, former professional athlete and runner, and he is now starting his own 420 energy bar.
Hi, I'm Chris, former professional runner, and I have my own company with two of my former teammates from the University of Arkansas. The 40 national championships we won during the whole tenure of the coach, and 2 when I was in school, and we have our own edible company, Zip Organics.
So tell us a little bit about your track career.
So I was a 3-time All-American in track and field. I went to undergraduate at University of Arkansas and then undergrad at University of New Mexico, where I was an All-American in the 5K and the 10K. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I'm the state record holder in the 2-mile. And then I ran professionally, post-collegiately, and I ran professionally for ASICS and for New Balance and qualified for the Olympic trials and ran all over in Europe. I trained in Kenya and had a great career until, unfortunately, back in April, I was diagnosed with my 4th stress fracture and kind of put me out of the game, and that's when I really started working on this.
And so the entire time that you've been a professional athlete, you've been a marijuana smoker or a patient of cannabis?
Yeah, when I was 19, I was actually unfortunately diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and this was at Fayetteville, Arkansas, a very conservative state, and I was already a cannabis user, like on the weekends, and I decided to do my own research when the doctor wanted to put me on some prescription medication. So I went home and I found out about the CBD effects for the digestive system. So every time I had a flare in my stomach, I always medicated with my own edible that I cooked from my own kitchen in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And each time I did that, it always knocked out any indigestion or any problems I had with my stomach. And since then, I've been pretty much medically controlling my Crohn's disease.
And so what prompted you to create your own 420 energy bar?
It was pretty much back in April. I met with my 2 business partners, Mickey Coburn and Dan LaCava. They're also they're 2 of my best friends, 2 of my former teammates, 2 of my former housemates when we were all in school. And honestly, it was just, one of those conversations where we're passing a joint around the table and we said, let's do this. Like, we have a great idea. Like, let's go forward with it, And so we all came together, like, as teammates once again, and now it's in the form of this, Zip Organics.
And so what sets your energy bar apart from other edibles out there on the market?
We infuse it with gourmet espresso beans, so each serving is equal to a cup of coffee. So it's great for like getting out there for yoga or for anything active. Like, it really has this perky effect, unlike most edibles that really have a sedative effect where you kind of feel like you're very mellow and kind of glued into the couch. We use an indoor Girl Scout cookie strain, so it's a hybrid, and it's going to have a little bit of that CBD effect, and also it's going to have that upper sativa effect as well.
And so what is the cannabis infusion in the cannabis bar?
Our chef, Dan LaCava, he makes everything through a coconut hash oil.
Coconut hash oil. And how many milligrams per bar?
Each serving has a 1/4 gram of hash oil.
So 25 milligrams?
Mm-hmm.
And for yourself, when you consume cannabis as an edible for a medicine and as an athlete, do you feel like it has any kind of adverse effects for you? Does it make you tired, lethargic, slow you down in any kind of a way?
No, not at all. I mean, really, I think what we're really trying to portray in the cannabis movement is that it's just a flower. Like, really, that's all it is. And, I mean, honestly, I think it has many benefits. Like, one of my problems as someone who suffers from Crohn's disease is after a really strenuous athletic activity, like I remember after my first marathon, my stomach was ruined, like for days. Like, I actually ended up going to the hospital because I was having so much problems with my stomach. It wasn't until a week later until I got back to California where I finally was able to medicate, and I really felt my stomach start to come around. So, I mean, I don't really see any adverse effects at all. I mean, I do think that as professional athletes or any athlete, like, the carcinogens in the smoke are not the best thing for you, but there are many safer alternatives to use cannabis.
And so, as an athlete, you've been tested for marijuana as a recreational drug. Mm-hmm. How did you bypass that?
Yeah, that's been a struggle, and that's something that we are really trying to go against. I'm one of the first athletes to really come out and say, yes, I used cannabis. And so my 2 business partners are the same. We're saying that this is not just that NCAA athletes and WADA, like in the World Anti-Doping Association, that they both test for cannabis. So, I mean, we dodged some serious bullets when we were in school to keep our scholarships. And some of the stressors that I had to put through my body to pass those tests, like almost living in the sauna the day before a scheduled drug test, or like drinking absurd amounts of coffee and diuretics to just clear my system when I knew I had a drug test scheduled the next day. That's the adverse effects. That's where I'm doing damage to the body. The cannabis is doing no adverse. It's actually, I feel like it's actually helping me psychologically and physiologically.
And so recently, the NFL has relaxed their testing policies for marijuana, taking it from 15 micrograms to 35. How do you see that being like a trend, maybe for Olympic athletes in the future, or any track runners?
Yeah, the IOC and the World Anti-Doping Association, they've lowered their testing threshold for cannabis. But like, I see it as like it needs to be completely wiped off. Like, I mean, the fact that cannabis is being scheduled as a street drug with heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine, I mean, when there are many medical benefits to cannabis, I see that as this is absurd, and this is what really needs to change. I mean, I think there's many former NFL players that are coming out saying that cannabis has really helped them with their concussions, and I mean, that's a serious problem in the NFL where you have suicides and violence related to concussions. And if cannabis can be a start to change that, then I think the NFL should be trying to use it and really trying to let their players self-medicate if they choose to.
Where do you hope to see medical marijuana in the next 5 years?
I hope to see not just medical marijuana, but I'd like to see more athletes and people coming out of this closet about their use of cannabis. I mean, we live in California where it's very loose and it's okay to be open with this, but you go in other parts of the country and you get a lot of strange looks, like when you're smoking in public or if you were to have edibles or whatever, and I think this is what needs to change. It's almost this openness that needs to be accepted, but I think there needs to be people like myself who are coming out to say, like, yes, cannabis is just a flower and I use it, so what? I mean, the biggest thing for me and my two partners and teammates is that we, on a Friday night, instead of going out to the bars at 3 a.m., we were just having an edible at maybe 6 p.m. We'd get goofy, have a much needed dinner, to replenish our bodies through running 100 miles a week at 5:45 pace up in the trails and killing ourselves. We were medicating our bodies. We were putting this food into us, and that was giving us the energy to be there ready for a 7 a.m. practice when we had all of our teammates coming. Some of them were still drunk, and we were able to kick their ass those days, and that's where I think cannabis needs to be seen is something that it can be connected with fitness. It doesn't have to be like people saying, oh, you're an athlete, you can't use cannabis. No, not at all. This is an herb.
So what was your proudest moment on the track?
Probably I was team captain for the University of New Mexico when we were 8th place in NCAAs. And although I didn't run to my best ability that day, the team getting 8th was the highest we've ever placed in school history. And although I feel like we had the talent to really place top 4, get on the podium, that was a really proud moment for all our coaches, so to do that was really great.
So, and you said you had went to Kenya in 2013. How did that trip affect you?
I've been to Kenya twice, actually, and I went there to train with the world's best and get my ass kicked into shape, and it was always a great time. I really learned a lot about the culture there, and I was able to almost transform myself, by being able to relax into this culture where it's just all about relaxation, but I was able to focus on my own running because that's all there really is to do there is run.
So in Kenya, did they smoke cannabis?
I found cannabis one time. It was kind of funny, sometimes I have a little bit of a cannabis radar, and I can tell when someone uses it, you just get that impression.
Vibe.
And so I had one friend, a lot of Kenyans style their hair in dreadlocks, but just his demeanors and how he was, and we started to establish a friendship a little bit. And so one day I was just I'm just gonna go out on a whim, and I was like, hey, do you smoke a little bit? And he was like, me? Oh, no. And I was like, no, you're lying. I know you a little bit, you're lying. And this is, he was a 61-minute or 60-minute half marathoner, and I ran 62, so he's a phenomenal runner, phenomenal. But in Kenya, he's just another guy. There are hundreds and hundreds of half marathoners that have run 62 minutes or faster, but extraordinary runner. But I just had this feeling. I was like, hey, do you know where I can get some? And so I lived in this town called E10, which is about 25 minutes away from this major city called Eldoret, where many other Kenyan athletes live. And so I went down there and I went to this big African market where you can get tons of fruits, and I just kind of asked around a little bit, and then I finally was able to find some cannabis, and it was outdoor, and it was actually from Swaziland. It had made us all the way up to Kenya, and I tried some of that, and it was really, really potent, like very good outdoor cannabis. And it could have just also been that like that stimulus of being in a new environment and trying cannabis there was kind of like, wow, this is a lot different than smoking cannabis back in the States. But that was a lot of fun.
So when did you guys start the 420 bar?
We started back in April. Pretty much in April, I ran my last race, and right when I came back, I found out that I had a stress fracture in my tibia, and that was actually my fourth stress fracture. And running is a funny sport because like professional runners don't make a lot of money, and we always have to go to another road race to really get that next paycheck for the rent and food. Like the sport brought me many places, but to really push my body more and to get that fifth stress fracture, I didn't want to see that happen. I wanted to try something new with my life. And my other passion besides running has always been cannabis. And so I decided to say, hey, I'm going to do something different. So I moved to Humboldt in April, and then I got two of my partners out there, Mickey Coburn and Dan LaCava. They all came and visited me out there, and we said, let's do this. And now we're really trying. Now we're really doing it.
So tell us about the flavors that you have available.
We have two flavors. We have a pumpkin cherry bar and a sweet potato date.
And what are the calories and like the intake as far as like a superfood goes?
Each bar has 250 calories, roughly, and about 15 grams of fat, and about 8 grams of protein. It's 100% organic. It's got like the pumpkin cherries, my favorite, like it's got a sweet taste a little bit to it, but it's only from the cherries. Like it's only the cherry and the sugar in the cherries. And it's got like this Thanksgiving taste too. Like, and I really love it, and honestly with just a couple bites, like not even the whole serving, I get like a decent enough buzz for me to do like a little bit of like, I love going to the gym and lifting weights on it, or doing yoga especially, even going out. Like lately I've been doing a lot of running and hiking in Runyon Canyon, and having like a couple bites for that always, like I feel like I'm able to get a little bit more zip and energy into my workout.
That's why you named it Zip.
Zip, yeah, exactly.
So would you consider it like a meal replacement bar, or more of like a snack bar for in between?
I'd say more of a snack bar. I mean, 250 calories, like, I mean, depending on how many calories you're trying to consume, like most meals, you're gonna try to at least 500 or so. But I mean, if someone's looking for a healthy snack that's like gonna give them a little bit of energy and a little bit of a cannabis kick, then I think Zip definitely has that.
And so where do you hope to see your line in 5 years?
I mean, that really depends a lot on, I think, the whole legalization process and where we can take Zip. But right now, we're really just trying to get into as many dispensaries within Los Angeles. We'd really like to see it move to San Francisco, but really like, I would like other athletes to get behind it, or like to see Zip and to like be like, hey, this is something that maybe like when I'm feeling a little bit sluggish and I don't want to go to the weight room, this can get me through it, you know? Or a yoga class. I mean, there is something about cannabis and yoga where they really go together, like peanut butter and jelly, like, and the ability to just stretch when you're in that cannabis high zone.
So tell us a little bit more about your cannabis use in your track days.
Well, we're very much in the closet about it. You know, like, although I had much longer hair then, and I kind of just had this style that was like you know, a little bit of this relaxed guy, like that many would maybe, who use cannabis, suspect that I use cannabis just off that intuition, you know? But at the same time, like, when confronted on it by like our teammates at Arkansas who weren't like in our social group, there were maybe like three of us, like, and we were very like, no, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, yes, you're crazy. Like, and we were always passing our drug tests, and no one ever caught us with cannabis or anything. So I mean, we were in the safe zone. We weren't in any trouble. But now it's funny because we're all coming together and we're saying like, hey, this needs to stop. Like, because we're thinking like, when we were 19, 20 years old, have there been 3 former college runners or college athletes that were doing what we're doing now? We would have probably looked at those guys and be like, good for those guys. You know, like, that's what someone needs to do. And that's what we're trying to do, because I don't see it as right as like, if someone's over 21 in Colorado or Washington, it doesn't matter if they're a student athlete or not. If they want to ingest a little bit of cannabis, however they want to use it, by all means, they should be allowed to use it. They're legally allowed to do that in that state.
Did you grow up in a cannabis-using household?
My mother, like, she used cannabis in her past, same with my father. My parents were all, like, my mother especially, she was very open with me using cannabis. Like, she was just making sure that as long as I wasn't my studies were always coming through,
Yeah.
and that my running always stayed on par, that she didn't really mind. The most thing that she was worried about was me losing my scholarship,
Right.
because she knew I was going to be being drug tested. It was really funny, like when I was getting recruited by the Arkansas coach, he had me on the line, and then he had my mother on the other line. She was in the kitchen, I was in this room right next door, and we're all on the phone, and my mom goes, so how could he lose his scholarship? She's got this thick Boston accent, and he was like, he's this Irish guy, he goes, if he fails a drug test, any drug test, his scholarship's automatically gone. And my mom goes, even marijuana? Like, 'cause she used to smoke quite a bit, like back before I was born. And John McDonald, the coach, goes, absolutely marijuana. And then my mom goes, even brownies? And he goes, what? Like, all confused, like, what's a brownie? Like, and now it's funny because, like, that's all, we did that all the time, like making brownies, making our own edibles with peanut butter all throughout college, and now we have this business doing that. So it's kind of funny how life ends up.
Right? Well, we wish you luck with your line.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're really just three young, ambitious guys really just trying to get into this movement, like trying to connect fitness and cannabis, like, because honestly I see that as the next step in the legalization process, is people coming out of this closet, and like these labels, these stoner pothead labels, those need to be taken away, because there are people from all walks of life who are using cannabis medically and recreationally, and honestly it's no big deal.
Do you think that coming forward as a former professional athlete, that other athletes might be willing to come forward saying that they're cannabis users?
Absolutely. I really would love to see people like honestly, this shouldn't be because it's just a flower. This shouldn't be like a gay rights coming out, because this is just a flower, you know? But honestly, sometimes it kind of feels like that, because me coming out right now as a cannabis user, people are going to have all these assumptions about me, and I honestly have to put that behind me, because this is something that I really believe in. And I think more people need to be saying, hey, this is just a flower, it's a safer alternative to alcohol, you know? It's time has come that all of this needs to go away, and this just needs to be accepted.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Check out more online at ediblesmagazine.com for more information on Chris Barnicle and his edibles line.
Thank you.